The retirement spending smile is real. Let me draw that out for you so you can see what my man Scott Burns is talking about on the couch potato investing. And essentially, what it is that you spend this much while you're working, and then it goes down until you hit healthcare, and it goes back up again. So you spend this much as while you're working, then it drops when you hit retirement, and then it goes back up as healthcare kicks in. I actually disagree to a significant extent with this, where it jumps back up once you retire, once you hit older age. I don't believe that to be true for the vast majority of us. Now I'm sure it's true for some of us, but so isn't it true that you're going to run out of money for some of us. So isn't it true that some of us won the lottery now? I mean, just the whole thing is lots of truthfulness to various anecdotes, but I don't think that's true for it. You can bank on that when you're doing retirement planning for it by any stretch. But anyway, I like this article a lot. And like I said, I've always been a fan of Scott, not for everything, but a lot of stuff he writes. And I always appreciate his take. My hair's a mess. I still have hat head from wearing my Boston Bruins beanie while I was taking old Pablo for a walk earlier today because it's doggone cold here, 22 degrees in Georgia. So don't forget, Burns and Larry Kotlikoff wrote a book, and it's back on there, the shelf, Spend Till the End, that had a big dramatic effect on me, big time, that you should get. All right, so Dateline November 1st, 2019. It's nice when personal experience confirms an idea. That's what happened to me over the last decade. Year by year, I've seen the Burns family spending do exactly what researchers have predicted. It's declined. The reality is in our checkbook. No, I'm not about to hold out the alms bowl. Burns family finances are better today than they were 5, 10, even 15 years ago. What has happened is that our spending has changed and has painlessly declined. Why? Because we've aged. And for the record, my 79th birthday is coming up this week. Here are some examples. Food. When my wife and I worked in Dallas, we often had dinner out. We shopped for food once a week, and things in our fridge would die out of neglect. I know the feeling. Today, we eat less, we eat fresh, and we don't eat dinner out very often. All this is entirely by choice. The only food-related bill that has increased, what we spend on wine. That most likely is due to a modest bit of quality inflation. Clothing. Without the need for a work wardrobe, your closet can be much smaller. Out here in Texas Hill Country, anything beyond denims and a t-shirt is considered overdressed. So I'm down to one suit that I can wear to speaking engagements, weddings, and funerals. For my wife, certain clothing items are simply missing, like what I once called her Imelda Wall of high heels. Dress is simpler now, but still imaginative in color, texture, and pattern. It may help that I'm still startled by her beauty. And there's, by the way, that's their house in Texas Hill Country. See those? I think there's a cypress tree, something like that. If you have allergies, those can really cause some damage to you for sure. I don't mean damage like they're not going to kill you or anything, but we had two of my kids had big problems being outside with significant cypress or cypress, I can't remember, trees and the allergies for sure. Definitely allergy season in Texas because those suckers right there. And then no green grass. But anyway, so let's see. So for both of us, clothing expenses are down. Transportation. Is just possible that our 2010 Lexus and our 2013 Honda will last longer than we do. There are both no payments and both have been fault-free. I don't expect to replace either until an electric alternative appears. In lieu of that, I may start buying carbon offsets for our fuel consumption. But both cars could be done for about $100 a year. Why even say it? The whole thing is silly. So I could buy carbon offsets for our fuel consumption because he's obviously feeling regret that he has an ICE. Come here, buddy. Come here. My only ICE is this internal combustion engine named Pablo because he is internally combustible, where he is tooting like crazy, and I get to smell it at all times, causing lots of methane gas. But come on, Scott, you might buy carbon offsets. Well, if you believe CO, apparently you do because you think so because CO2 is bad. Then why aren't you doing it right now? What's the holdout? As if it's just the whole thing just drives you crazy. But this is what makes it funny. Travel. As you get older, air travel wears more. So we do it less. We still go to Mexico, free on Southwest points, and a few other places. But my recent trip to France was a rarity. As a practical matter, we'll go any place we can get in 4 hours less nonstop. Younger people who are hungry for more travel won't believe that less travel is painless, but they can't say they've been there. I didn't know that, and let's see if my comment is posted yet here. Nope. He didn't post my comment. Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, that's too bad. I posted a comment, so I find it interesting. You're going to buy carbon offsets for your cars, but no carbon offsets for your air travel. Don't mention that. And then he didn't post that, which is kind of too bad. It's the hypocrisy is never ending. I mean, look, man, look, I hate to go off this tangent, but if you think CO2 is bad and you're going to you're going to alleviate your guilt by buying carbon offsets, you don't say, I might buy carbon offsets. You do it. Not that that would do anything, frankly, for the level of CO2 parts per million in the atmosphere. We're breaching 400 now. Scott Burns buying freaking carbon offsets to offset his Honda Fit and his Lexus isn't going to save anything when it comes to CO2. It's not. But I just find it ironic that he did not buy carbon offsets. Mention it for his travel because that's where it gets pricey. And again, it won't matter. Entertainment, we read more books on Kindle, fewer in print. We cut the cord. We get Amazon Prime as a freebie with free shipping. Subscribe to Netflix, and only television station we watch is PBS, of course. Our lives are now advertising free. It's also amazing how much entertainment Texas is free. All right. Shelter. Most people spend less as they get older. I think we do, but we recently moved and started a major project with 22 acres in Texas Hill Country. I expect annual costs will be far less than our previous homes in Dallas and Santa Fe, but I could be kidding myself. What research shows that all this confirms what the researchers have shown. For most people, spending tends to peak in their 50s. In fact, except for healthcare, everyone's wild card, we tend to spend less year after year. So academic researchers Ken Ticino and Cynthia Salzman were right in 1999. That's when they published their Journal for Financial Planning article that detailed how spending declined. And then a few years later, this is what changed me. Ty Bernicki wrote the Reality Retirement Planning, which I still think he should get the Nobel for financial planning. And if you want to do it for economics, he should, because he is a person, in my opinion, who put it in the vernacular of retirement spending declining. Then David Blanchett plowed the same ground in the JFP. He found the retirement spending smile. He demonstrated that spending declined at first and bottomed. Later, it started to rise as healthcare spending increases overpowered other spending categories. The net effect is a U-shaped spending curve, which I don't agree. Now, you might be able to say it's like the opposite of a J, like a hook, if you will, kind of like that. Where it can go up a little bit. I don't think it's a smile. It's not going to get back to where you were. Again, some people will, but the vast majority of us won't. Well, the scaremongers of financial products regale us with stories of retirement hardship and misery that can be cured only by buying this or that financial product. The reality is that retirement costs less than expected for most people. The consequence is that people who haven't saved enough, according to their financial services industry, and this would it's not just financial services industry, Scott, it's academia too. I get it. You believe in CO2 is bad. You like watching PBS and telling us about that. What is it with these people that can't take academia on? I don't understand it. It's like, it's the weirdest. It's that generation, only thing I could think is the baby boomers. They were trained to believe everything from academia is as pure as a wind-driven snow, and it's not. It's just as corrupt as the financial services industry, man. I just don't get what the why we just fall hook on a sink or what academia says. I mean, it is a cutthroat environment for sure. And I don't trust them as far as I could kick them. I don't trust the financial media as far as I could kick them. I don't trust the mainstream media as far as I could kick them. And I don't trust the sports media as far as I could kick them. I go in there, everything with cynicism, and you should too. And this is, it's weird to me that he wants to bash the financial services industry. Well, I agree. But in my opinion, but if you look at Eisenhower, he talked about the educational industrial complex. That was when he's famous for the military industrial complex, but he also talked about the educational industrial complex. He didn't say that specifically, but he said the same thing about the rise of the government funding education. And he said how what could happen is to get rid of the tinkerers in his garage and instead default to academics with high credentials. And he said that's not good. And it's important to be clear here. This isn't about people being deprived. And I was, again, surprised he didn't say anything about Jonathan Clements' article where he said the reason people spend less in retirement is because they run low on money. And that's what Jonathan Clements said in regard to Bernanke's article there. And I don't know, I guess it's easy to take on the retirement industry as a whole, but you don't want to challenge any individual. Like, so he talks about, let's see if he does on this. No, he doesn't. Anyway, so It doesn't happen because we deprive. It happens because we change as we get older. We spend less. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Um, we all like to live highly individual lives, and we can, but life has certain realities. One is that we as creatures have a life cycle, and very broadly, we live within its boundaries. I disappointed to publish my comment. That's too bad, but hey, it's his website. He can do what he wants, and that's why I don't have any comments on my websites anymore because I didn't want to go through and clear them. It was a pain. I imagine the same thing for him, but then why put him on there? Anyway, he had mentioned that he went to a yeah, right. Was it right here? He did an article where I just kind of doing a cursory look, but he mentioned about the steak dinners these guys have, but he doesn't call anyone out. And I don't know. I just I don't know. I'm trying not to call him out this, but just it's easy to say the retirement plan or the financial industry and paint everybody with one broad brush, paint everybody with one broad brush. I just I don't know. I think it's disingenuous because there are a lot of look, man. I've been in the industry my whole career. Are there some shenanigans, some crooks? Absolutely. Are the vast majority of people trying to do good by their clients? One unequivocally yes. I wish they didn't charge the way they did. Oh, that means they're thieves? No. Does that mean they're scandals, charlatans? No, 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 no. Just means the model as it is broken, and the only way people can get compensated is by charging assets under management. But now remember, 20 years ago, you couldn't even do that. You had to charge commissions. So we're going in the right direction. And the stupid SEC, who Scott does another article, he says the SEC recognizes this and they're going to save the day. The ignorance of being in the industry from this guy boggles my mind. So I'm like, dude, if you think the SEC is all that in a bag of chips, I got news for you, brother. We shouldn't rely on the SEC to police up bad behavior, that's for sure, because they don't. The SEC, if anything, perpetuates bad behavior because everyone thinks the SEC's got it under control, and they don't. But anyway, the financial services industry deserves some be hit with a pinata, like a pinata that should be hit with a stick. But I'm telling you, man, the vast majority of people in this industry are good. They're good, they're righteous. I think they would do better by clients if they were allowed to. But if they work for a firm and the firm says you have to do this, you have to do that, or else you don't have your job, and they got a family to feed at home, they're going to do this and do that because they don't want to not have a job. And they feel, well, at least I can get paid to some degree and still do somewhat right by my clients as opposed to not getting paid and not being able to do anything for my clients and leaving my clients to some other snakeskin salesman. So I just wish the financial industry would not be the whipping boy for everybody because I think it's disingenuous. I do think there's some issues for sure, but the idea that academia, that PBS, what's that lady's name from PBS who did that? They interviewed some guy from I don't know University of Illinois, the financial plan you could put on an index card, and I sat there and I just watched that and just shuddered. And I think they disabled comments on that because I was sitting there thinking people are going to watch this video, and I think like 2 million people have. And they're going to think financial planning is synonymous with investment management. It's just not. It's just it boggles my mind. And yet he's an academic, so he's righteous. And the guy who's selling something for a commission, that's not righteous. It's too bad. But anyway, there you go. So there's a retirement smile. It exists. Proof positive by this guy. Again, I could care two craps about your carbon offset, but I do think the reality is that you're going to spend less as you age. And again, as I said earlier today, I think this is proven. And for those who are running financial plannings where your spending goes up each and every year with inflation, I think it's time to get a new gig. We need to revisit this whole thing because that's not based on reality. And when you're running models like that, you're essentially telling people you need to stay in retirement for another 5 to 10 years. And they're like, I can't. My job is literally driving me to the grave. Sorry, Charlie, you got to do it. That's not the right answer, man. All right, we'll see you.